Hello and welcome to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors, Team Oxygen Addict.
Online triathlon coaching, event-specific training plans, coaching guidance from Coach Rob Wilby, and supportive teammates in a private Facebook group.
And of course, our patrons,
who support the show with a monthly donation. You can get your face on the podcast website page and a lot of our thanks.
A lot of our thanks, and a smiling face grinning back. You don't even have to send your photo in if you don't want to. Some people don't want to do that, do they?
No, but we like people's photos, Rob.
It's nice to put a face to a name, isn't it? I like people who are popping up in my Facebook feed now who've listened for ages, and a bit of banter going on. I quite enjoy that, actually.
Last week we spoke about my freezing cold hands.
Yeah,
and a lot of people got in touch, sending me pictures of bikes with radiators on them, tips about, I said the doctor, you can get something for it, but it lowers your blood pressure, so I think Sarah Marsden was helping me with that. So various people have been getting in touch, trying to help the cold hand situation. So thank you.
That's nice, isn't it? The listeners helping back. I like that.
Exactly, so really nice.
You get access to 5,000 minds by talking about your Raynaud's in the podcast. That's brilliant. So anyone out there with any specific knowledge of how to help Helen out with her freezing hands and when she's biking, give her some help, because you're struggling, aren't you, mate?
Well, I'm just turbing, Rob. I'm being a fair weather cyclist at the moment, and I don't care because no, I'm not going outside.
Yes, I went for a run this morning, and I went out of the door and turned round in about 5 steps and came and put some winter tights and another jacket on. It was really cold today, driving sleet and
Oh goodness. My brother lives in Toronto, and he was telling me that he went out in shorts yesterday in 1 degree, and he says it was snowing. He's like, I can't go out in leggings yet, it's not cold enough. It's like, you weirdo.
Oh, wowzers. How cold does it get over there then?
Oh, very, very chilly. And I was like, is it not dangerous to run on the pavements? Because even I went the other day at 3 degrees, and these country lanes were very frozen. I was thinking, oh no, I probably shouldn't have gone for that option. Very, very cold, Rob, is the answer.
I was working this weekend for British Triathlon, tutoring one of their Coach Ed courses, and on the way there must have been some kind of, it'd frozen overnight and there was sleet coming down and stuff, and there were 3 massive crashes on the motorway. And as I was driving in one direction on the road down to Edge Hill University, the car coming the other direction on the motorway just all of a sudden just pirouetted.
Really?
And luckily there's nothing else on the other side of the carriageway. I ended up sliding to a halt, facing 180 degrees the wrong way back down the carriageway. And I was like, okay, I'll be slowing down even more then.
Oh,
so
man.
It was beastly weather Saturday. Luckily we got to use a sports hall indoors, because I think people would have got hypothermic if we tried to do the run coaching stuff outdoors for the assessment. It was hideous.
Oh man, no, that does not sound pleasant. But no, what he was saying in Toronto is because they're so geared up for it, then they just go and, I want to say de-ice, but you know what I mean. They put salt down on the sidewalks, and he said they must go out at 2-3 in the morning every single night over winter, because he says they're clear. So he said there are patches where you've got to be careful, but generally. But I don't think their first winter was last year, and I don't think it was as cold as previously. So we will watch this space as to whether he can go out a little bit more.
Why is it that in Britain we always get, that the councils and stuff in charge of that always get surprised by the fact, oh look, winter's here again, and we've got no salt put down, and the pavements are all slippery. It's winter's coming. It happens every year at this time. Somebody should be going, oh yeah, we said we were going to do this last year, didn't we? Let's get loads of salt ready.
I just remember one year they just kept on running out of salt.
Yeah.
Didn't they?
Yeah.
Anyway, Rob, did you know something? It's our 100th show this week, isn't it?
It's our 100th show, and I've forgotten.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel terrible. I feel as if I've forgotten somebody's birthday. Should we start again? Should we start recording again? You go, happy birthday to us.
Yeah, it is. Can you believe it? It's our 100th show. That's crazy.
I guess it isn't technically birthday then, is it? It'll be 104 shows for the birthday. Yes. But 100 shows is a big deal, isn't it?
I know. Given that we sort of started off and we spoke to Nikki Bartlett in your conservatory, and we were both there, and the line was really, really dodgy, but we got it up, and yeah, that's nearly 2 years ago. And hey, any guesses for who our 100th birthday show guest is?
It's Nikki Bartlett back again.
No longer an age grouper, Rob.
Well, it's good to follow her progression across the 2 years, isn't it? She's become a lot more professional than we have over the last 2 years, that's for sure.
I think so. Yeah, no, I had a really, really good catch up with her to hear about the past 2 years, because pretty much when we spoke to her, she hadn't yet turned pro. It was that big, I think I'm going to, but I'm not too sure. And she very much is pro and has done really, really well.
Yeah, that's brilliant to see, isn't it?
Yeah, really, really good to see.
I think it's going to be a great story for people to listen to. So probably press pause on your podcast now and go back and find episode 1. And it was only something like 20 minutes long, wasn't it, the first episode? Yeah. Go back and listen to the episode with Nikki in, and then listen to her again in this interview and see the contrast over the past 2 years.
And not just the sound quality of us.
But that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, honestly,
Don't curse it, Helen. Hopefully the sound quality will be all right this week. We've had a couple of rather challenging weeks, haven't we?
Yeah, but I really noticed speaking to her, just the confidence in her voice. And she knows that she now belongs as a pro, and it was great to hear. So it's a really good, fun interview. She did drop the F-bomb, but I edited it out.
Oh, really? Good for you. It's a family show, Helen, after all.
Yeah, so the F-bomb is not in it.
Shall we include the section with the F-bomb in the patron special podcast special? We'll put a little clip in. If you're listening to this, then yeah, we can be bribed to not include the F-bomb, can't we? Donations, Nikki. Keep it off the air.
So anyway, we've got that coming up, haven't we? And we've got a load of results, because there was quite a special Ironman performance over the past couple of days over in the States, and we've got an interesting coach's couch. I can't say it, Rob. Question 2. So
yeah. So hang in there and have a listen, hey?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, do you know what? Before we do the news and results and stuff, Helen, do you know what I did on Friday night this week?
Oh, were you having dinner with the rich and famous?
I was having dinner with none other than Joe Friel. Can you believe that?
I can believe it, because...
I don't know how you can, because I can't.
Well, I can believe it, because you've done some Training Peak, I want to say like eventy sort of coaching things, haven't you?
Do you know, it's a real... I was sitting back after Andy, my business partner, came along as well, and we had a drink afterwards after him and Dave from Training Peaks had gone home. And we both kind of sat there in shock going, we've just had dinner with Joe Friel. Can't quite believe that. And it's a real sort of lesson in,
Eating?
like 2 years ago. No, it's a lesson in 2 years ago, you and I had this conversation. Shall we start a podcast? Yeah, let's do it. Shall I quit my teaching job? Yeah, let's do it. I can make a living from coaching. I'm going to go for it. And then 2 years later, sitting having dinner with Joe Friel, and he was my inspiration for getting into coaching in the first place. You know, reading his book, The Training Bible, was the thing that back in 2002, 2003 was what I used to coach myself through my first half Ironman and then my first Ironman. And I remember really clearly in about 2003 talking with a mate of mine and saying, I'd love to start getting into triathlon coaching. And he said, well, look, you've got that book by Joe Friel, read it and you can use the principles in that. And I'm sure you could do, like, with your teaching background, you could do this. And it's kind of crazy to think that, I suppose it is 13 years later, but it would have been dead easy to sit there and just kind of dream about it and do nothing about it. And somehow I'm sitting there having dinner with him.
That's really cool. So what did you learn during the dinner, Robert? And was it...
Oh, man. Do you know what? Yeah, he is such a great guy. Like, I'd imagined how he would be, and I've met him a couple of times very briefly before, but he was just such good company. You know, when you're not quite sure how something's going to go, when you hope something's going to be... He was just such a nice guy, such a welcoming and friendly chap, and so good with giving advice out and not so much about coaching, but more about it turned like into a 3-hour business seminar. You know what I mean? Rather than a coaching thing.
Did you record with him, Rob?
No, but I chatted with him at the end and said, look, we do this podcast. Is there any chance you might agree to be a guest on the show? And he was like, yeah, definitely. I'd love to do that. That'd be brilliant. So he's going to do it, he said, in January or February when he's had his Christmas period with his family. So definitely watch out for that. And if I can get him to tell half the stories on the podcast that he told at that dinner, it's going to be such a great show.
Good work. I like that.
Yeah, it was cool because, like, especially because he started out as a teacher as well. Oh. And he told this story how he dreamt about making a living from coaching. Mm. And his story is even more amazing because he basically invented coaching as a profession. And I said that to him at the time, and he's like, no, don't be stupid. No, I didn't. And I said, no, you really did, because when you had your dream of leaving teaching to do this professionally, there probably were no other triathlon coaches in the world who were making any kind of living from it. Mm. And he told this story about how he sat down and he wrote numbers out on a piece of paper. I'm going to have this many clients in order to make a living from it. I was like, I did that. I did exactly that. I had a piece of paper on the wall and I used to colour in a little box every time I got another client, and I had to get 2 more clients a month in order to make it work. And he was going, yeah, that's exactly what I did as well. So it was brilliant. It was, when you feel someone's like a kindred spirit.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. So I'm definitely going to get him on the show because I think the listeners would love hearing his story.
Yeah, it sounds like he's. I like. That's what I like about life, Rob. Though, if that makes sense. The fact that, I don't know, maybe it was one of those things that really it was meant to happen, that you were going to have dinner with him, even though you can't quite believe it.
Maybe we get to spread his story, right?
Well, like, you had put all the work that you've put into all of this over the past 13 years, then you just needed that little...
Maybe.
I've gone a little bit hippyish over the past year.
I was going to say, I've infected you with the spirit of the hippiness, haven't I?
Yeah. I've got this hippie shake, and
I love it.
Honestly, though, I love it. I feel very much at one at the moment, and it's
so good to hear.
It's a crazy place to be, but it's like this excitement as well. In that, I don't know, the good things are happening, and I tried to say to someone the other day, it's like a rubber band ball, and it starts off tiny, and you're just like, well, this is just pointless. This is not even going to be a ball.
Yeah,
and then
I like
gradually,
it.
Bit by bit, you add a rubber band, and you add another rubber band, and you add another rubber band, and it does start looking like a ball. And it doesn't matter how long this process takes. You could take 100 years to build a rubber band ball, couldn't you?
I like this.
Yeah.
You could write one of those management style books about this.
Oh.
You are going to be the next Stephen Covey. I love the idea of the rubber band ball.
Yeah, I'm loving it. My dad said yesterday, he said, Helen, maybe you should think about going into counselling. You're quite a good listener. I was like, well,
I could see you being good at that, actually.
Well, that's not where I'm going, but, I think the pathway that we potentially are going down is a lot of interacting with people, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's exciting.
Exciting stuff, mate. You said it. We said it, didn't we? 2 years ago, we sat there and we said, what do we want to do with the podcast? We want to inspire a few people to take a step outside the comfort zone a little bit and interview people who were really good at the sport and who were doing something another step forward from where we are. And I think we've managed to do that,
I think we have. And I
hope so.
And not even necessarily all the interviewees who are... the professional ones. I mean, the feedback that we had from sort of Hasib, the blind Ironman world record holder, and then we had Caroline Bramwell with the stoma, and so many, and then John McAvoy. Oh my goodness, John McAvoy. So
it's great to see his book so well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and it was nice to, we ran the competition for it.
Yeah.
Well, I know that Wee Fraggle got her book, and she
Wee
said
Fraggle. Such a great name. I used to love the Fraggles.
But I mean, she said, wow, this book's really inspired me. So yeah, if we can do a little bit of inspiring other people through the podcast, then that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, we should move on and do the actual actual part of the podcast, because otherwise it's just going to be you and me talking, isn't it, for the whole
Yeah.
episode. So there you go. There's a bit of a bonus for the listeners, or not. Maybe people have just been hitting fast forward on their podcast player. But there's more than a little bit of inspiration out there this weekend, because, and I can remember sitting down and having a chat with this guy a while ago. It must be about a year ago, mustn't it, that we interviewed Lionel Sanders now.
Yep.
And at the time, he hadn't had anywhere near the year he's had.
No.
But I loved his story about overcoming drug and alcohol addiction and channeling his energies into training and stuff. And it's something that resonated a lot with me. And boy, oh boy, has that guy come good.
I know. Wowee. So at Ironman Arizona, Rob, I'm going to let you carry on the story, but wowee.
I was watching live, Hells.
Were you?
I was watching live because you know how the Ironman coverage is notoriously
amazing.
A little fickle. Apparently, they found their solution. It's Lionel Sanders' fiance, because she twittered. Yeah, Erin twittered or periscoped all the way through the event yesterday. So when I went onto Twitter, she was updating. Every time he came by, she was taking video clips of him and kind of doing like a live update. And I've never really used Periscope, or, you know, I've been vaguely aware of it, but you can kind of ask people questions on screen. So people were asking her questions about how he was getting on, and she was answering them during the live feed. It was brilliant.
That's
It was
really...
obviously very Lionel centric, but it was really impressive. So you should go back and have a look on Lionel's Twitter feed if you're interested in this, any of you, because she had like the swim start, the middle of the swim, the end of the swim, him coming by on the bike, her sort of shouting out to him the splits and how far down he was, and then you can gradually see him getting closer and closer. And then at the bit where he goes onto the run, he's only about, I think he's a minute and a half down or something, and he looks so strong as he comes through.
Yeah. I saw it just before I went to bed that the time had come through, and the fact that he had broken the Ironman world record, because obviously he challenged Roth. Two people have gone faster than him, but yeah, I was like, gee, that is cool, because he didn't have the Kona race that he wanted. So then to actually go out and completely and utterly nail it 110%.
Yeah,
it's fab.
Yeah. It just it looks like an amazing race where two really strong athletes pushed each other, and it's great to see that, because we very often get the kind of, you know, imagine what's his name, Frodeno could have gone even faster at Roth if there'd been somebody biting on his heels, and Sanders got pushed all the way in this race. So for those of you who haven't seen the result, he did 7:44.29, which was, I think, about a minute faster than Marino went to Austria. So that is a legit performance, isn't it? 7:44 is super, super quick. He swam 53:45, so quick swim for him. It shows his swim's improving. And he had one of his good swims. He says in the interview afterwards, I never know what I'm going to get with my swim, whether it's going to be a good swim day or a bad one. And it was a good one for him that day. But he was still, I think Phil Graves was the first of the big names out of the water, and he swam like a mid 47. So that's probably a legit swim course. Phil Graves will swim about that if the course is accurate. Then he rode 4:04 on the bike. So I think we've only ever seen one, maybe two people go faster than that. I think Starkowitz went faster than that with a 4:02 on this course, and then didn't do much on the marathon. He closed with a 2:42 marathon after riding 4:04, which is just mental, isn't it?
That man is a machine. That is really good running off the bike. That's what everyone sort of dreams of, don't they? And then before the cracks start to appear or whatever, that is absolutely superb.
Yeah, I mean, he was running, I was watching live as he came off the bike, and he was running sub 6 minute miles off the bike, and I was thinking, oh, you know, that's like 2:35 pace, a little bit fast there, but I mean, he hasn't faded much, has he, to do 2:42 there? And he says in his post-race interview that the wheels came off at 23 miles, and he decided he's gonna basically run for the course record or fall over and keel over, kind of thing. He wasn't bothered about the win; he wanted the record, and I just love that attitude about him. So in second place we had, I've lost my little...
Brent McMahon, fellow Canadian, in 7:50, and he also smashed the previous course record.
And he ran 2 hours 40:17 in his marathon. So that's, closing down that at the end, isn't it? Closing down 2 minutes on him, which is amazing.
That is really cool. I was going to put Brent McMahon as my sort of up there. We did our little Kona predictions.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he was one of the ones who I was like, oh, I really want to put him in, but in the end I didn't. Glad I didn't. Anyway, 7:50, and then TJ Tollockson was third in 8:02.
Great performance by him, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Another one where that's a seriously quick time. It's about time we see a win from TJ.
Yeah, so that was, but still to be even put like 12 minutes into him.
That's insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
You do 8:02 and someone is 2 miles ahead of you at the finish line.
Yeah. Wow. So Phil Graves was out there racing as well, and he said it wasn't the race that he wanted. He said.
How did he get on in the end? I saw he came off the bike in fourth.
Yeah, he did like
a 4:10 or 4:12 on the bike or something.
Yeah, and I saw earlier, I was looking at the results, and it was more like a 3:30 marathon.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah. So he said, well, that was a bit of a disaster today. Ironman Arizona. Got round for the finisher's t-shirt and medal, but I have had an enjoyable week. So there you go. That was what he said afterwards. So I think he was, I want to say like 19th or 20th.
But still, he must have gone blooming quick, mustn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
He must have still been about 8. Was that like 8:30 or something still? Even with a 3:30 marathon, that's insanely quick.
Yeah, it was a very, very fast race, wasn't it? Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can tell you right now, actually, Rob, what Phil Graves did, if it wants to appear. Yeah, I can tell you now. Yeah, he was 20th. He did an 8:41, and it was a 3:32 marathon that he did. So.
It's incredible.
And actually, the other name that I did see was Pete Jacobs, 18th, because this is, has he got like one more year of his 5-year window for Kona thing? So yeah, he did an 8:40. Did a 3:03 marathon.
He did a 3:03 marathon?
Pete Jacobs did a 3:03 marathon, but he was a 4.
So what was his bike split then? Because I saw his swim times. Oh, he must have had a flat or something, mustn't he?
Yeah.
He must have had a mechanical.
Yeah.
Because he's a close to 4 hours rider, isn't he? He's a 4:10 type rider. And so 4:20 on that kind of course, even if he's not on a good day, he must have had some kind of mechanical happen.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yep.
I'd love to see Pete Jacobs get back and have a really decent race. So, I mean, imagine that he did have a mechanical. Brilliant to stick around and lay out a 3:03 marathon, because that's still fast running, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm with you there. I mean, the people just below him were like 4:32, 4:38 on the bike, but you know that he can go faster than 4:42.
Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. Over on the ladies' side, we had a 3-peat for Meredith Kessler.
Yeah.
Takes out the third year in a run, and it's good to see her having a good one after she had a horrible time in Kona, didn't she?
Yeah.
Was it a hamstring injury she had?
I'm not sure.
Do I remember that correctly? I think so. I think she had a bad hammy out in Kona. So 4:48 for her to take the win ahead of our friend Yvonne van Vlerken at 8:51.
Yeah, so again, Yvonne was really pushing her, wasn't she? So Yvonne rode a little bit faster. She did a 4:40 bike, but she was obviously nearly, 9 minutes out the water behind Meredith Kessler. And then they both had pretty similar run times, to be honest. Meredith did a 3:09 and Yvonne van Vlerken did a 3:08. So yeah, really good running there from both of them, and a really sort of close race. And then in third place, Rob, was Melindy Elmore, who was doing her first Ironman, and she went sub 9, 8:57.
Say that again. First Ironman.
Yeah, first Ironman.
8:57.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it?
That's amazing to do sub 9 in your first Ironman. Right, stick her down on the list of people to keep an eye on for next year.
She ran a 3 hour.
Right now, that's one of those performances like Chrissy rocking up to her first race and storming out that performance that she did in, was it Taiwan? She won her first Ironman, didn't she?
Yeah, there was South Korea or there. Yeah.
South Korea, there you go. Yeah.
And then the other, three more names I wanted to mention. Ruth Brennan Moray, she did a 2:57 run, so she got the fastest run of the day to come in fourth. Leander Cave was fifth, and then Darby Roberts, who won Ironman Wales.
Roberts.
Yeah, we had on the show. She was interesting, wasn't she? Because she's still teaching.
She was, yeah. She's a hard worker, full-time job and racing pro.
Yep. So she was sixth in 9:13.
Oh, good result for her. I'll send her a little message later on, see if we can get an update for next week's show.
Yep.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. So that was Ironman Arizona. Brilliant racing. Now, Rob, the other week we mentioned we were looking at one of the races, and I said that was Rachel Hall and this really fast time by a British athlete. And I can't remember which race it was, but I was like, I'm sure that's the girl who always wins Wilmslow Sprint. Anyway, we've had an update, and it definitely was her.
Awesome.
So, Naomi...
Manchester Tri Club, wasn't she?
Yep, Naomi Kira Wright got in touch. She said, yes, you've got the right one. She's a member of Man Tri and an absolute machine. I want to be just like her when I'm older.
Wow, that's the kind of phrase you can only get away with saying if you're a personal friend, isn't it?
So well done again, Rachel, for your amazing performance a couple of weeks ago.
I want to watch there. Nice work. Right, over to the ITU Cross Triathlon Championships, where a third World Championship for Flora Duffy in 2016.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
That's incredible.
It's really very quite cool. So this was out in snowy mountains in Australia, and interesting. Look who was second, Barbara Riveros, who is also an ITU athlete. So So Flora Duffy won in 2:54. Barbara Riveros of Chile in 2:58 was second, and then Suzanne Snyder of the US was third. Another ITU athlete on there, Charlotte McShane, was fourth, and then Jackie Slack, who again another British athlete we've had on the show, she was seventh in 3:14.
Awesome stuff. And over on the men's side, we had a win for Ruben Ruzafa from Spain, with Josiah Midor in second and Braden Curry in third. Ben Allen was down in fifth. So good racing from those guys. Let's have a quick check. Are you recording at your end?
I am. Yep.
Brilliant. Good. Mine's broken down again. So
Fantastic.
The usual technical fun and games. I'm going straight to buy a new computer after this.
Black Friday might have a few good deals. Right, Rob, so where to next? Where to next is we have the Laguna Paquette.
Yeah.
Yes, Laguna Paquette.
So Michael Rayler takes the win at Laguna Paquette, with Amelia Watkinson of New Zealand winning the women's crown there as well.
Yeah, and that is she's having like the most amazing season.
Yeah.
Is Amelia Watkinson. And I'd like to say Emma Pallant was second.
Second for Emma Pallant, third place for Radka Vodjakova from the Czech Republic, and then a bit of British interest. Imogen Simmons takes fourth, and Sophie Kirk in eighth, and Louise Croxton in 10th. So loads of Brits over racing that one.
Yeah, nice.
Sophie's an age grouper in the 18 to 24, and Louise is an age grouper in the 40 to 44. So well done.
That's very good racing. Yeah, and Richard Nichols was fourth in the men's race as well.
Yeah, so we had Michael Rayler in first, Anthony Costas of France in second, and Brad Carlefelt in third. Jürgen Zach was racing.
He was
17th place at 50 years old. He is a legend. Anyone's not heard of Jürgen Zach, go and look him up. He was the original crazy German cyclist suicide attempt off the front. He was absolute legend. He used to come off the bike with like a 13-minute lead at Kona.
Wow.
Yeah. I think he was the guy that, I'm almost certain it was Jürgen Zach, that had a 13-minute lead over Mark Allen.
Really?
And Mark Allen in Mark Allen's final race ran him down for 13 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it.
Breaks your heart, doesn't it? Get caught at
I love it. I'm inspired by it all. Yeah, that bit's a bit crap.
I tell you what though, you have to go back and find a podcast and listen. I'm going to actually email Mark Allen after this and see if we can get him on and tell his story, because his story of like the mental battle of getting off the bike, I think he was 38 or 39 years old. He'd had a year out and came back to do it, and his story where his mind was going, you're 13 minutes down, Jürgen Zach's the new young guard, you're never going to run 30 seconds a mile into him. It's just brilliant. It's such an incredible story.
Wow. Well, right, get him on.
I'm doing it. I'm making a post-it note right now. Email Mark Allen.
Yeah. In the meantime, shall we listen to Nikki Bartlett's interview and then come back with a little bit more news and Coach's Couch?
Let's do that.
Okay, well, here we go. This is for the 100th show special. Really great to get Nikki Bartlett back on the podcast. So if you don't know loads about Nikki, she was a rower. She was very much in the GB squad, but got injured and had to stop rowing, and then sort of came into triathlon with a really successful age grouper, but wasn't the greatest of swimmers, and she would probably say she couldn't swim. So she's really built that up over the past few years, and she was winning the age group races by a fair distance. And so last time we spoke to her, she was still an age grouper, and this time she is a pro. So here it is, the interview with Nikki Bartlett. Nikki Bartlett, hello and welcome to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Nikki, can you believe it? Our 100th show. You're back on it.
I know. I can remember it. Was it 2014 when we did the very first show?
Yep.
Wow, I can't believe it's 100 shows. Amazing.
And when we spoke to you back in 2014, you were still a top age grouper, and you hadn't even raced pro at that point.
No, I hadn't raced pro. I think, when did we talk? Was it like mid 2014?
No, it would have been December kind of time.
Okay, so I was probably deciding actually whether to go pro or not. Yeah. I was deciding. I was like, oh, am I good enough? I don't know. And then obviously soon after that I was like, okay, why not?
And how has it been over the past nearly 2 years now?
Yeah, I know. Incredible. It's been a really good progression. I've loved every minute. It's been a real good learning curve. Age group racing has set me up well to kind of develop into a pro athlete, but it is completely different racing, completely. And I'm now actually, this 2016 was my first year training full time. From January 2016, when I started working with Rob as a coach, I literally was like, okay, right, let's just do this.
Wow. So you had about a year of doing a little bit of part-time work as well as training?
Yeah, I was working part-time and training in the first year, 2015, first pro year.
Wow. And lots of people say age group racing is totally, totally different to pro racing. Spill the beans. How is it so different?
That's a difficult one. I guess this is from my personal experience as an age grouper. I guess I was getting to the point where most age group races, I was like winning by like 30, 40 minutes in my age group. And I was like, so there wasn't much competition around me, so to speak. But pros, so sometimes it could be quite a small field in the pro fields. And there's been races, I am not joking you, where I do not see anyone on the bike. Especially when Ironman are awesome and give you good time gaps to the age group men setting off. I think in staffs, was it 2015 and 2016? I literally didn't see anyone until the end of the bike, and you're just like, and other than the parts where you're doing like a loop out and back and you see people going up, you're just like, sometimes just like, am I in this race at all? It's actually crazy. Like 2015, no, I wasn't. 2016, yeah, I was absolutely fine, but you don't know that. You don't get time splits. You are on your own. I don't think I had power at that time. So I was just like winging it, thinking I was going at the right speed or whatever. Like, I don't even know if I had a Garmin. Actually, I didn't think I had a Garmin on my bike, so I didn't know what speed I was going at or anything. So it can be quite a lonely experience. It's different in that you have pace lines. I actually haven't experienced that yet, but the dynamic of the racing is a lot different, especially if you are targeting the podium. Sometimes you have to be totally race within yourself. Sometimes you just have to go with the pace.
And did you find that mentally it's very different? Because if you're not expecting that you're going to suddenly be all on your own in this race, That must be quite difficult mentally the first time that you have that experience.
Oh yeah, completely. So even this race, this year's stats, I think I passed Nicole Walters quite near the end, 5-10 minutes towards the end, and I didn't see Lucy Charles until literally as we were coming off the bike. I was around Lucy Gossage for a while she was being falling off the bike and whatever. I tried to keep with her pace, as in I could see her blue dot in the distance, and I just tried to keep pace for about an hour, and I was like, I think I'm going to blow. So I decided to back off a bit. I don't know whether or not that was a good decision. So after I left her, I was about an hour and a half, literally I haven't seen anyone. I was like, where is everyone? So yeah, and then until I came to transition, oh, there's everyone, and then you're like, oh, I'm only 3 minutes off second. No, I think I was. So yeah, 3 minutes off second place, and then 6 minutes off first. So I was like, oh, I am actually in podium. So you just go from where am I to, oh, I'm in the top 3.
And how do you find out when you hit transition? How do you find out where you are? Does someone tell you? Is just a friend yell at you, Nikki? They're only 3 minutes up the road. Go and get him.
Well, I am literally the luckiest person to have the best support team. I'm not joking. I think it's staffs. There must have been. It was 11 of us. It was ridiculous. So there was people spotted everywhere. So a few of them were waiting as I got off the bike to tell me, and then a couple of miles up the road on the run, there were supporters there telling me how much I'd made up or lost or whatever. So yeah, the reason they always drop themselves around. So I've got time splits everywhere, and if they can, they get out on the bike as well. I think this year I've only just discovered that actually I really need that, especially when you come down. I'm always down off the swim, and on the bike I could be in Norway as well. I didn't see anyone on the bike, and I was it's I am way off. And then I saw Rob, and he was 3 minutes off, and I was like, oh wait, amazing! It's a complete change in mindset, but literally it can be that lonely that you just don't see anyone. Sometimes you don't see any race officials for a while. I'm like, am I on the course? So yeah, I think getting a split on the bike course really helps as well. But yeah, it's the best support team.
What was it like in your first pro race? So it was Staffordshire 70.3, and actually lining up with these pro women. I'm sure you'd probably met some of them because you had trained, I think, with Ellie and things like that. But, do you feel a bit, what am I doing here? Do you feel a bit of a fraud in a way?
Yeah, completely. You come from age group racing, and yeah, you've had success in the age group ranks, but it does not mean you're going to have success in the pro ranks at all. It's you're a professional athlete, you're trying to make a living from the sport, you're racing the best in the world. There's nothing to say that just because you're a good age group, you're going to be a good pro. So I think 2015, I did find myself, I was a bit intimidated. I didn't completely believe I should be there. I didn't have as much confidence as I should have had going into racing, and it showed. I'd always start really timid in the water, and I was a bit oh, it's okay if someone, passes me or whatever, because they should be, or it's just, yeah, you need to be really confident going in. And with the help of Rob and Susie, I definitely developed confidence through kind of the winter, 2015, 2016 winter. And you do need to have confidence sessions. You need to have, a first confident race, whether that be quite low key one, which I did do at Scottish Triathlon Champs in March 2016. And that definitely gave me a confidence boost for the up and coming races. So yeah, I did spend 2015 I shouldn't be here, and then actually I was like, no, come on, I actually want to be here. I do believe I'm going to be good enough one day. Therefore, man up and start backing yourself. So I think especially when I started working with Rob, I was like, okay, he believes in me as well. I've got my amazing support crew who believe in me, and most importantly, I do believe I can be competitive. So that's what my mind change was in 2016.
Was there a particular moment then when you actually thought, you know what, I can do this? Was there a moment in a race, or was there a training session and you nailed it and you hadn't expected to nail it, and then you thought, yep, right, this is it?
So I think it was kind of a development of progression in terms of getting some confidence. First hand when Rob got in touch, and he was like, I think you're talented, love to coach you. And that was kind of my first step. And then, so I went down to his in the off season in November, December 2015. And we did an FTP test, and to be honest, I don't really train on power, or at that point I hadn't trained on power. I hadn't really I hadn't been on a watt bike, so I didn't understand numbers. I hardly wear a Garmin. I kind of just do my key sets on a treadmill. And then cycling had been my weakness in races, and I never really knew why, because I always felt like that was my strongest. So I did this FTP test, and he was like, where did that come from? You shouldn't be so shit on the bike in races. What's going on? So yeah, my supposed weakness became probably my strength. Actually, no, swimming is my weakness. That's not a lie. But I was always like, why am I like 10, 15 minutes off on the bike, literally, in 2015? So yeah, that gave him a lot of confidence as well. I was like, right, let's sort your biking out on the road.
You've mentioned Rob a little bit. Who exactly is Rob, and how did the relationship with him then come about?
Mystery Rob. So Rob Cheetham, so husband and coach to Susie Cheetham. And we started working together kind of probably like December 2015, so just before 2016 started. So yeah, we started talking after Dublin.
Yep.
And then had my off season, then kind of went down to his to talk through 2016 and kind of a 2-year plan. So yeah, that's how it all kicked off.
So did he say to you, oh, I wouldn't mind coaching you, or did you say to him, hey, would you mind being my coach?
I hope he doesn't mind me saying, but yeah, he did get in touch with me. But after Dublin, I'd raced Staffs and Dublin in 2015, in my first pro year, and Susie had raced both of those, and he was with Susie. So kind of like met and spoke to him a bit there, and kind of he did cheer me on in both races, and so yeah.
And up until that point, did you have a coach? Did you have a coach?
No, I was kind of self-coached up to that point. I guess after I stopped rowing, I kind of took charge of myself, so to speak. Yeah, I was self-coached, but definitely I'd never go back to being self-coached. Now I have Rob, or have Rob coaching me. It's a big relief not having to write it yourself, knowing that fine line of, push through in tough training or backing off. It's really nice to have a coach there saying, you're going to be tired, carry on, go through, or okay, we need to back off. It's good to have that input, which you don't get from being self-coached.
And has he given you, or does he give you, a lot of different types of training sessions to perhaps ones that you were doing when you were coaching yourself?
Oh yeah, completely different. Yeah, it's we get on really well. He knows how I work, and I'm lucky that he knows that I love the treadmill, and he loves the treadmill, and get good sets on the treadmill. But yeah, completely different stuff to what I was doing. I'm now my longer rides are way longer than what I was doing before. Yeah, he's definitely testing me.
But you're enjoying it.
But I love it. It's amazing. Like, I actually look forward to getting my training on the computer. Like, I'm like, woohoo, here it is, and I have a look through, and I'm get excited about the stupid, crazy training. Well, it's not stupid, but the crazy training sessions, and I'm like, oh my god, look what I've got to do in 2 weeks' time. Yeah, so it's a really exciting project.
And can you talk us through? I know every week's different, but a sort of average week now that you're not working at all and you are full-time training. What do your weeks look like?
Is this off-season? Like, is this time of year, or is this like in heavy training?
Let's do both. So this time of year.
Okay, so this time of year, I'm in like what Rob is calling a prep phase before training actually starts. So I'm on a swim and gym focus. And a lot of the training is short and sharp at the moment. There's hardly any mileage at all. In fact, none compared to what I'm used to. Like I'm training like around the 15 to 18 hours a week, but it's really short and sharp. And there is a definite focus, which is the swim and upper body strength in particular in the gym, which basically means I have arm DOMs 24/7 at the moment. I started my threshold set today, and within the first 200 meter reps, I was like, "Oh my god!" All I can feel is lactate in my arms. And I've just learned how to tumble turn as well. So I've got I'm going into sets in the pool where I'm tumbling, and I come up and I'm like, like that, and then I've got lactate. I'm like, this is so not pretty. Like the lifeguards must be like, what is she doing? Like my arms just flying everywhere. I'm like breathing really heavily.
And do you do that thing when, because I think I'm probably at a similar stage with the old tumble turning. I've probably been doing it for about a year. And do you get some where you just totally misjudge the wall and then you almost like sink because you just do a forwards roll?
There's sometimes like hit the bottom of the floor. I'm like, what am I doing? This is in a shallow end, like 1.2 meters or whatever. But yeah, sometimes I'm like go all the way down to the floor. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? Yeah, so complete looking like an idiot in the pool at the moment. But it's good because like I'm really like I breathe like I don't know if you say like every stroke or whatever, and I only breathe to one side. So doing loads of hypoxic swimming and the tumbling with that, I'm just like constantly like out of breath.
And do you do your gym before you swim, or do you swim before you gym? Do you do both? Do you have a break in between?
I definitely swim before I gym. Like today, I swam and then I had a few intervals on the bike, and then I went back and did gym. But yeah, I'll always probably do gym after. No, in fact, I will do gym after swim because it will not be pretty. But some days is like I've done gym in the evening and then I have to swim the next morning, so that's always a bit of a killer. But I know progressively I will kind of get through that lactate and it will become a lot easier. But at the moment, it's definitely not. So yeah, basically, in summary of my long-winded answer, I am in a prep phase before training starts properly in December.
And then when training does start properly in December, what does a week look like there?
Okay, so we'll have like, so what would it be like? So it definitely develop. I won't just go from like 15 to 16 hour weeks to 28, 30 hours. It will definitely be progressive. And probably by the end of December, which is always fun because it's around Christmas and New Year, I'll be up to my 28 kind of hours. But to be honest, I don't actually know what hours of train. I don't tend to look at that at all. So we'll always have like a long ride. At the moment, it's long ride with a few efforts in. And every week we'll do some kind of, it's not a brick so much at this time of year, but I'll always do a run off once a week. I think that's really key to keep that in once a week. And it's actually a really efficient way of getting the run in. So always have like a brick kind of session once a week, a long run, a threshold swim, a speed swim. Speed swimming is my main focus for the next year. Strength swim, and then your backup swims on top of that, or hypoxic swimming. Always go into the pool with a focus.
And you're in the pool 5 times a week?
Yeah, pretty much 5 times a week, maybe 6 times. But yeah, no less than 5 times a week. Definitely not. Definitely not less than 5. Which is, a pleasure when you're full-time athletes. It's doable, but obviously for age groupers, it's a bit harder with around work. I definitely do gym right up until March, so it will kind of be periodized gym, like as in like we'll go from like 2 gym sessions a week to 3 to 4, and then might go back down to 3. We do always have like a specific focus for a couple of weeks, whether that's swim, run, or bike. Always have some sessions in there where I'm like, what? Like, is he being serious? For example, this week, I think it's my second lots of effort on a run since I've done Wales, and it's like 5k park run.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my God, I hate anything shorter than a half marathon. So I'm like, oh God, I'm going to do a 5k. Just like, I hate that horrendous feeling for that period of time. So it's not going to be pretty. I'm actually, yeah, so that should be fun. Just little things like that he throws in where you're like, I don't know if he's joking. But yeah, I love those kind of sessions where, and some sessions where I'm like, there's no way am I going to be doing that. And somehow it just happens.
And they're the ones that you can take confidence from, because they're the ones that you think, I can't do that, and you do it, and then you're like, oh, I can do it.
Yeah, exactly. And it sets the bar even higher for the next time, because you've done it and can do it.
So, Nikki, Ironman Wales, was that one that just appeared in the programme, or had you actually spoken about it?
Yeah, so it's a funny one. So when I sat down with Rob, it was very specific in terms of I want you to qualify for World 70.3 in 2016 and Kona 2017. So obviously coming back to my personal point of view, I was like, that sounds awesome, but also I was a bit like, is that possible? So he kind of outlined exactly how we're going to get there, race strategy, training strategy, the whole training. I knew when I was going to have my big build phases, my big peak weeks through the year. I knew all of that. I knew when I was literally not going to have any energy to even pick up the phone. But also easier weeks that I'm like, okay, I know I've got an easy week coming up. That was all planned. It's all been really specific, goal orientated. We picked the races out. We stuck to those races. Luckily, it paid off. I podiumed in them. But when you've had it for your first year and you haven't even been on the podium in your first year, and then you come to I need to podium in 4 races to qualify for Worlds, you kind of I don't know. You sit down and you're just like, okay, right. If he believes it, then right, let's go do this. But in the back of my mind, I was like, really? I don't know if I can do this. And then I did Scottish Triathlon Champs, and that's when I was like, okay, right, everything's in a really good place. I'm in really good form.
That is awesome. So after that, you then talk us through your races then of this season, because yeah, as you say, to not be on the podium to then qualify for the World 70.3s, that's pretty awesome, Nikki.
Thank you. No, it's been an incredible year. There's in January, if you'd written out in how the year would have gone, I probably wouldn't have believed you, or if whoever was telling me that's what's going to happen. I guess was in the back of my mind when Rob was like, "This is what you're going to do." And we had 4 objectives, and on one of the objectives was regularly contest for the podium. Which when I looked at my performances in 2015, I was like, whoa, I was so far off the podium. Like we're talking nearly 20 minutes off a win. Like it was just a bit ridiculous. So yeah, it's great. And then Rob laid out the races I was going to target, and yeah, it luckily went smoothly. So yeah.
So your first podium was it France, wasn't it?
Yeah, Pace at Axe in France, which was kind of the first. It was the first triathlon race I'd done with Rob coaching me. The lead up wasn't so smooth. So after the Scottish Triathlon Champs, no idea why it took me so long to recover from that race. I was just like, what? Why am I so battered? Like, no jokes, it took me longer to recover from that race than it did Ironman Wales. The course is killer, and it's freezing, and it's just tests every limit, like mental, physical strength. And it's just been like 2 weeks or something to recover. I was like, oh my God, am I just really unfit? And then I actually tore my calf in afterwards in that, because my calves were just so messed up. Like you go up this monster hill like 6 times, and coming down it was probably the worst. So yeah, I tore my calf. So going up to Axe wasn't the best prep for my run, but we were just like, right, can't run, so all we're going to do is bike and swim. So, it's going to be a bike and swim program. And then about 3 weeks towards the race, we introduced some aqua jogging and some cross training. But other than that, we just like, right, you can't run, don't even think about running. We're going to smash the bike and swim. And it just worked out really well. And then actually in Axe, there was no swim. So I was like, oh God, so there's no swim, so there's a bike, and then this horrendous, don't know what I'm going to do, run. But actually it went pretty smoothly, and it was crazy, crazy winds. Like, when they, on the forecast, when they put a black circle and put like 45 to 80 mile per hour gusts, they went ahead of the race. It was just it was a great experience to go through those kind of conditions. And then I kind of just hung on the run, and then came through. It was weird though, because obviously you went off in a time trial. So luckily the guys, when I got off the bike, the support crew were like, okay, you're actually second, but you look like you're third. Because of obviously where you started off.
Yep.
But yeah, I hung on to 3rd place, which was amazing.
And standing on that podium for the first time.
Yeah, with like Tyne Deckers and Julia Gager, I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, I was it was amazing. So yeah, that definitely set me up really well for the year.
And what did Rob say to you after you got on that podium?
he was like, "Oh my god, machine, epic! Like, how did you run that split?" I know the course it is definitely short, but still, like, he was expecting me to run, I think, 10 minutes slower, literally, with the no run training. But obviously, kind of like your head just kind of gets you through, and previous training before tearing the path. But yeah, it was definitely a great confidence booster on the podium. Yeah, it was brilliant.
So you raced there, you raced Staffordshire, Norway, I want to say Barcelona as well, is that right?
I did do Barcelona. It wasn't a great race for me. Yeah, it just was pants. But yeah, it kind of even motivated me even more for staffs. And then Norway was a great race too.
Wow. And then Oz.
And then Oz, yeah, Australia, like first time out of Europe, like it was a brilliant experience. The race didn't quite go to how I wanted it to, but I took a lot away from it, and it was really nice, really good to go and experience Australia, and had a mini holiday, and it was really good. It was really nice.
When that official, I don't know, did you get an official email or something, or an official letter came through? What were you thinking?
Yeah, it's a funny story, right? So I used to drink a lot of booze in my younger days, like a lot, like talking like last person on the dance floor. So I hadn't drunk alcohol for, like, I just don't touch anymore. Just don't like it. Don't like the taste. I might put a little bit of wine in food, but definitely wouldn't be like, oh, I'm just going to open the beer. So Rob gave me a few lagers after Norway. And so they hold an amazing after party. It's really nice and chilled, but it's really nice. So I had a few beers, and I woke up the next morning, and I'm not even joking you, 2 beers, and I felt like I actually had a hangover. I felt horrendous, like hadn't experienced a hangover for years. I was like, oh, what is this? And I woke up and I saw the email. I was like, wait, didn't know if I was still asleep. I was like, right, is this happening? But we knew in the strategy how many points I would need, and I knew exactly where I needed to be in the overall ranking. You need to be in top 35. And towards the end of the qualifying period, where it cuts off, Norway is one of the last races you can do. Mm-hmm. So I knew going into Norway where I needed to come, because I knew roughly where I was on the points system.
Yep.
So I knew I think even a 5th would have qualified me comfortably.
And what sort of lessons did you take away from the race in Australia?
In Oz, keep working on my swim. That's a good one. Yeah, how important it is to get on there's a really deep field and big group of athletes to maximise the swim and get in a group, so you can work in a group on the bike. That was my downfall. I was on my own. I was putting out stupid watts. To be honest, I actually don't think I could do just a standalone time trial any faster. The watts I put down, my average watts for the race.
Really?
So literally I wouldn't be able to do a TT any faster than that, I don't think. So I got off the bike, and I'm not even joking, I was like, I don't even think I could walk out of transition, let alone run. Because the run out, when you got off the bike, the run was about 600 meters in transition. And I was like, I couldn't run with my bike. I was like, I can't feel my body. Like, it's the worst I've ever felt coming off the bike. And I had no idea. And you have to go up this hill, like 4 times. You have to go up this massive 400-meter hill. And it's out of transition, basically. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh my God, I feel horrendous. It was getting quite hot. Well, hot for me. And I was like, right, how am I going to run this? And to be honest, getting a 1:30 on that course and coming off the bike feeling the way I did, I was quite proud of that on reflection. But yeah, the bike was killer on my own. Trying to catch some groups, it was just, it just wasn't happening. So the run was about survival.
So when you get to Kona next year, you now know you need to be in the swim with others to then come out and get on that bike in a group. Yeah,
I think Kona's a bit of a different ball game if you look at how it plays out each year. You got to take confidence that I know I can come out of the water, say Lucy Gossage, and she biked on her own the whole time. I think actually Kona's completely different in that sometimes it's good to be just riding consistent power and no surges. If you look at how some of the faster bikers at Kona, it was, they came out the swim not in the first pack. Yep. So hopefully that can play to my strengths when I qualify. But there is no doubt in saying that I need to keep working on my swim. But it's not gonna be a magic thing. I've been swimming 4 years. Can't really expect to be swimming people who are ex-national swimmers. Been swimming 15 years competitively. Like, it's not going to come overnight.
No, it's all hard work.
Yeah, it's the hard grind.
So, Nikki, Wales then.
Yes.
It was pretty soon after Australia, wasn't it?
Yes, we got back 10 days before Wales. So, with jet lag, feeling horrendous from the race, because obviously we finished the race and you get on the plane for a couple of days. Like, what perfect recovery, not? But also it makes you sit on your ass, which is good, because I'm not very good at that. So yeah, we got back and I was like, I am not feeling good from the jet lag, and I just couldn't, and also the recovering from the race. And it got to the weekend, like 6 days out from Wales, I was like, okay, why am I not recovering? And it wasn't right up until I think Wednesday or Thursday I went for an easy ride with a friend, and I was like, okay, I feel a bit more human. I'm like, okay, but the next day we were travelling to Wales, and it was all very sudden. I did keep expecting Rob to just send me a text saying, no, you don't really have to do it, don't be silly. But also Wales was just the biggest challenge. Like, everyone was like, it's one of the hardest Ironmans you can do, but it's one of the best spectator events. The court, like, I think one of the biggest things in pro racing is you have to be really wise with which races you choose. You have to choose races to your strengths, and I knew Wales was definitely a good race for me to do. And also, like, I hadn't done any Ironman training. Like, obviously I've been training, but I felt like we weren't specifically going for the Ironman, so it was such an unknown. Like, I think we did 2 runs above 2 hours, and I'd say a handful of 2-hour runs, if that. So my long runs were around 90 minutes, an hour 45, either as a long run or as a progressive run. So I was a bit like, can I actually run a marathon? No idea. So especially after such a long bike, like, I can remember getting off the bike in Wales, I was like, oh my God, thank God we're off the bike. But then I remembered we had to do a marathon. I was like, right, I am not even going to bother wearing a watch. I'm just going to go for feel, because basically the Wales course, if you're unaware, is like, you're literally like a couple of miles out up a hill and you come back down around the town, and you do that 4 times. So you run up this hill for, I reckon it's at least 2 miles long. It's just killer. Like who sets a marathon course like that?
Those Welsh types.
But at the same time, like, the crowds were like thick, deep, all the way up and down and in the town. So you kind of like, and my family and friends were spread out, and Rob came as well. So they were all spread out around the 10K loop. So literally within 2K of the whole loop, I knew where I was gaining, where I was losing, but luckily gaining. And I can remember just hitting a horrible place in lap 2. I was like, okay, I don't even think I'm 15K in, and I feel horrendous. Like, I can remember jogging with Kate. I caught Kate, I'm pronouncing her name, Kuma.
Yep. And
we were kind of just like talking. She's like, oh, is this your first Ironman? I was like, yeah, and I'm never doing one again. Like, literally in the race, it's like, never doing this again. It's too long.
I love the fact you were chatting halfway round.
So we had a chat, and I was like, feel horrendous. Like, don't know if I can drop out. There's too many people around. So yeah, it just didn't feel good at all. And then literally, like, got to the top of the hill where Rob and I can't remember who at the time was up there with Rob, and I just felt horrendous. And I was like, I don't feel good. He was like, you're gonna feel horrendous, keep going. And then I don't know why, then starting the 3rd lap, I just was like, oh, I feel fine. Like, it was just so weird. I was like, okay, I've run 10K feeling horrendous, but actually now I feel fine to go and do I can remember going past, because you go past the finish line 4 times. I can remember going past the finish line thinking, oh, if I was doing a half Ironman, I'd be stopping. Oh. And I can remember seeing Paul Kay, and he was like, go, 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 you're gaining and you're gaining. So I was like, okay, 20k left, right, just keep chunking it down to parts. And I felt fine, and then off I was, and then you cross the line, just like, right, when's the next one? And you completely forget that you decided you were definitely not doing another one in the race.
Did you, as an experience then, was it right up there for, the highlights of this season just gone?
Yeah, without a doubt, probably the best race I've done in my lifetime. It's definitely up there with one of the best Ironman races I've done. Obviously haven't done a massive amount of different races, but 100%, like, it's about somebody said it's like 300,000 spectators, like, it's just crazy. Like, so you get in the sea, and all you can see around you, because you have to climb this zigzag to get out from the sea. It's like, in total, it's a 1k run from the beach to the transition. It's so far that you actually pick up trainers to run from the beach to the transition. And it's just like zigzag line out full of spectators. Like, it's crazy. The atmosphere on the beach when you get in is mental, and you come out, you do 2 loops to get back in the sea, so you obviously have the buzz halfway around. It's not just an hour boring swim. And then you get out and you go on the bike, and there's people who've just got their settees out from their houses playing music. Like, the farmers obviously just completely stopped what they're doing. They've got their tractors and put settees and TVs on it, and it's just like full of spectators on the bike. And you do quite a few like 16 to 20% climbs on the bike course, and it's just got, and there's what's the Saundersfoot, I think, is one of the key climbs. And it's just like literally like a little mini Tour de France area where and everyone's in fancy dress. There's people run alongside you in just like a pair of pants. Like, it is epic. And then you think that's good, and then you get onto the run. The run's even better. So like literally from a support, and the whole town gets involved. Like, I've been to a few races where the town doesn't really get involved, but definitely the locals do get involved, and they love it. It's like the best period of the year. Yeah, it's definitely right up there. I would say if you want to do an Ironman in 2017, sign up.
There you go. You heard it. Get on it. Get on it. Get on Ironman Wales. Nikki, can you tell me, what would you say are you most proud of since turning pro?
Oh, that's a good question. I think ultimately right now, I guess, if I'm excluding like a race, is just like completely backing myself, completely thinking, okay, I want to make a career out of this. I want to be racing the best athletes in the world. I want to make Kona in 2017. I want to just progress, and be right up there with the best athletes in the world, and just completely backing yourself to do that, because you have to be 110% committed. You can't. There is no. I don't want any what ifs. If I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. But I don't want to leave the sport thinking, oh, but what if I went full time and was recovering properly? I want to completely just support what I think I need to take to get to race the best athletes, and definitely training full time with no work commitments, I believe, is what I need to do to progress. And just having complete confidence in yourself that actually one day I will be with the best athletes. I don't know when that will be. And I love progressing. I've really enjoyed this year and seen how far I can come. I literally can't wait to see what happens next year. But definitely I am 100% committed.
Awesome. A great attitude. So next year, you've already said, that is the plan, to make Kona. You'll have points from Wales. Yeah. What other potential races might there be on the horizon?
So I think we're going to kickstart the year with either South Africa 70.3 or Dubai 70.3. Rob's already told me I'll be like 80-90% fit for it. So it won't be a key race. It will just be okay, let's go. Start the year somewhere. Get away from the British winter for even if it's a week. So yeah, and then our first A race, or our first target, is Ironman South Africa.
Yep.
Which is early April. It's first weekend of April. And I think literally we're just going to see how that goes, and just that is our aim. I'm going to be, hopefully, if I can consistently be injury free and be 100% fit for that, and literally go from there. I mean, if you look at, I think the top 6 girls from last year's race came like top 10 Kona. Like, it is a really stacked field. So I want to go there. Obviously, I want to get enough points to hopefully be pretty much on my way to qualifying for Kona. But it's a good measure, that race, because top 6, you're like competing with, top 15, top 20 best girls in the world. And so if I go there and I don't perform, then I'm not ready. I'm not good enough to go to Kona. So that's kind of why I think we personally want to go there, because if I am good enough, I should pretty much be well on my way to qualifying, getting points, and it's a championship race. So I think if I came 6th at South Africa, it's the same points as a 3rd or a 2nd at Wales. Yep. So yeah, and if I'm way off the pack, then I know I'm not ready. So yeah.
It's going to be absolutely fascinating to see. Nikki, it's been a real pleasure to be able to have you back on again and to reflect on the past 2 years. I can't believe it. You've come such a massive long way, and you should be really proud, and you can hear in your voice as well the confidence that you now have, and the fact that you deserve to be in these pro races. It's awesome to hear.
Thanks very much, Hannah. Thanks for having me on. I can't believe the podcast coming on so massively. It's awesome. Like, so many people tuning in. So many good people interviewed. Like, it's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, Nikki, best of luck for the upcoming season as well.
Thank you.
So, Rob, there you go. That was the awesome Nikki Bartlett, who is going to be doing Ironman South Africa.
Isn't it fantastic to follow a story of someone who literally didn't swim, gets into it, gets good, and then has we can't underestimate how much courage it takes to turn pro, to go from being a good age grouper to being a professional.
Yeah. And it sounds like she has absolutely the right people around her who have helped make that happen. Yeah, she really does have a good team around her, and it sounds, it's just really cool. So, Nikki, we can't wait to get you on for like the 200th show.
Yeah, imagine.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll do it? Do you think we'll get to 200 shows? I feel like we will.
I'd like to think so.
I feel like we will.
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
Will we get to 1,000 shows?
Yeah, how many years will that be? Another 5 years' time?
That would be like 20 years worth of podcasts. Let's see, Hells.
Yeah, let's see that one. Yeah, but definitely 200.
I was watching a movie last night called Step Into Liquid, which is about surfers, and they interview a guy on there who'd surfed every day for 25 years. This mid-50s guy. You're like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Every single day for 25 years.
I think that's really cool. If I lived right by the beach and, there wasn't a whole load of work going on in life or whatever, even if there was, I'd make it happen. I'd get out of bed, I'd go and do it. And then you can start the day feeling like magic.
I think the problem is, if you live by the beach, what happens is you get into the water and you realise it's going to take the next 2 hours of your life up, because there's no way you're getting out after one wave.
Yeah.
I was late for work a lot when I lived by the beach.
Were you?
Yeah. I was not a good teacher that year. I was constantly tearing into the car park just as form was starting, with my hair wet still. Yeah.
Sounds like me now.
It's an addiction. Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that who are into triathlon. Getting into the office, smelling of chlorine.
Yeah, there was the other day when I had done the cross-country run, right? And silly transport meant that I was a bit late arriving into the office, and I was meant to be at my desk at 4 p.m. I walked into the office at, I think it was 4 minutes to, and I was like, well, I can't go and log on, and I can't sit down because I'm literally still covered in mud. I was 3 minutes 3 minutes in the shower, then probably another 2 to, just completely faff, but literally 5 minutes, and I was at my desk. I was very impressed with that. Anyway, shut up, Helen. Right, Rob, shall we do...
No, I love it. I think that's the best part of talking to you. That's if you've only got 4 minutes for a shower, you can do it in 3. It's the first
totally
law.
do it.
You can totally do it. Yeah, there's no excuses.
No,
if
I
you've
even
got
wash my
30
hair.
minutes, it will take 30 minutes if you've got 30 minutes. If you've only got 3, it'll take 3.
Yep, I absolutely washed my hair, but I might then have gone to my desk with a very wet hair, but that's not unusual.
As I'm imagining you with one of those, like, the way ladies wrap their hair in a towel.
No, I wasn't that bad, no, but I have had it cut, so I can literally just, like, if you shake a dog dry,
Yeah.
I can just do that to my hair and it's fine.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Is it short now then? You got short hair now?
It's a bit shorter, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
can't really tie it back properly, so, yeah.
Sigourney Weaver and Aliens kind of hair. That's what I'm imagining.
Yep, whatever, don't know, but yep, that.
Have you not seen Aliens?
No.
Well, probably you weren't born when it came out, that's why.
Probably
Great
not.
movie.
Someone asked me this week if I've got Netflix. I was like, nope. Nope.
Not yet. You haven't got time to watch movies, have you?
No, who has time?
Who has time to do that? Yeah, exactly.
No.
You can get it on your laptop, though. You can do it when you're on the turbo.
It's all about the Mexican radio, as I told you last week. At the moment,
Oh, yeah.
I need to keep my Spanish up, so
Yeah.
Mexican cheese does the trick.
I've been learning. I've had a little app on my phone. I've been learning Spanish.
Muy bien.
Muy bien.
Sí, muy bien.
Say, hola. Lo siento.
Sí, lo siento mucho, ¿no?
Yeah, what? Yeah, that.
Yeah.
I'd like a banana, please. Right, let's move on. Come on, let's do Coach's Couch. We've got a good question this week.
Okay.
It was sent in by Ed Lyons on Facebook. Do you want to read it out for us?
Yep, he says, so as an age grouper that is a relative newbie to the sport, I spend my time listening to the show, dreaming about how I'm going to qualify for Kona. Now, that's not uncommon, Rob, is it? However, Ed asks, which race should I enter? Which is the best course to stand a chance? Is it Barcelona at the start of the year, or one of the first races that offers places for the following year? Or is it one of the last qualifying races for that year, where a chance of a roll down could be higher?
It's the $1 million question, isn't it, Hals, that one?
It is the $1 million question.
It really, really is. Right. So I've written 5 bullet points down here that we can talk about, because the first one I was going to say, it says he's a newbie to the sport. And I think the first thing to point out is it doesn't matter whether you're looking at roll downs or not. You've got to be good enough before you're seriously going to get to the point where you're going to get a slot for Kona. Now, you might occasionally hear a story about somebody who finishes in 200th place in their age group getting a roll down slot. And it might happen to you, and you might win the lottery, but I think we've got to come up with a concrete plan here, haven't we? And the first thing you've got to do is you've got to really be looking at, I think, a 3-year build to get yourself to the point where in that 3rd year you're seriously trained enough that you're going to be competitive enough that you're going to be going for a Kona slot with relative confidence that you're going to be racing whoever's there, and you're going to be getting yourself, in a serious place for contention. And that holds true, I think, even if you're already very good at one sport. I think you've got to give yourself 3 years to get the first year out of the way, where you're just going to go and do a race. You just got to go and race and see how the Ironman is. Year 2, you can take it a little bit more seriously and try and be a bit more competitive. And then year 3 is really where you're going to be narrowing down the race that you want to do and really go for it. So a few things about qualifying for Kona. We said this earlier, didn't we, Hel? Some races have got more slots than others, and that can play sometimes a big difference, and other times not a big difference at all. Can you remember how many slots were at Bolton when you did it?
In my age group? Or any age group? I think there were 40.
I think there were 40, weren't there? Or maybe even only 35.
Yeah.
So it depends. Firstly, obviously, it depends on what age group you're in as to how many slots get allocated. Did you have 2 slots in your age group, Hels?
Yeah, there were 2 in my age group, yep.
And that pretty much, as a female, you're going to be looking at 1 slot per age group, and if you're lucky, you might get 2 slots in the slightly bigger age group. In the men's age groups, you're usually going to get probably 2 slots per age group, and then in the male, 35, the male 40 and the male 45, you're going to get a big chunk of slots there, so probably 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 slots in your average race. And it looks like the standardising the races out now at about 40 slots per race. But like we said, there might be some races where you get a bigger chunk. So
Rob, just I can tell you now that 2016 Ironman UK, 18 to 24 male 1 slot, 25 to 29 3, then 4 for both 30 to 34, 35 to 39, and then 5 for 40 to 44. So that's the biggest one on the male side, and then it drops back down.
Yeah. So that's going to play a big part in it, isn't it? Because I think if you're in the bigger male age groups, there's more of a chance for a roll down. If you're in one of those younger age groups, then pretty much, you're going to have to be finishing first or second to be booking your slot onto a race. So we don't know how old Ed is, do we? What I was going to say next was the bigger championship races like Ironman Germany and Ironman South Africa and others carry a lot more slots. So they typically have had 75 in the past, although they're reducing that. And you'd think that increases your chances of getting a slot, because in the male 40 age group, you're probably going to have 16, 18, maybe even 20 slots in an age group there because of the way they do their allocation. But what we find is there are so many more fast athletes turn up at those races that the standard of performance probably isn't any greater or less in order to win a slot as it would be at any other race. So if we think about our friend Warren Mason, he's at the point where he's winning or finishing second or third in his age group at races like Ironman UK, and was getting the slot or was right on the verge of getting the slot. I think he's had a slot a few times now. When he went over to Ironman Germany, he still did a tremendous performance, and as a 45 or 50-year-old man, he was going about 9:45, and that was having him on the very borderline of getting a slot. I think if I remember rightly, there was something like a 3-minute difference between him and Rob Wilson at that race, and Rob got a slot. But in those 3 minutes, there was like 10 or 15 athletes in their age group. So it was a crazy difference in terms of, time-wise, he was very close to it, but athlete-wise, there's shed loads of athletes in that gap. So my big tip, I think, for qualifying for Kona is you've got to find a race that suits you, because there's no question that the tougher races are less popular than the fast races. If you go to Germany, if you go to an Austria, there's going to be loads of athletes there chasing that fast time. Whereas if you go to Ironman UK or you go to Wales, it seems like although that might not be true anymore. I was going to say Wales is less popular, and it's not, because there's loads and loads of athletes there. But I think finding a race that suits your racing style, for example, if you are skinny and good on the hills, definitely go and find a tough qualification race that's very hilly, because that's going to suit you more.
Yeah.
I think that the time of year is probably less important than the difficulty of the course or the difficulty of the location to get to. So my gut was telling me that these new races in China were probably going to be a softer option to qualify, because there wouldn't be the depth of athlete there yet, and that was completely disproved by the quality of athletes that showed up in that 70.3 at China last week.
Totally.
I think a lot of athletes from Australia are travelling over there because travel distance wise it's not that far for them, and there's an awful lot of quality athletes down in Australia, and I think the barrier to them travelling has always been, it's miles for them to get to anywhere. Now these races in Asia are opening up. I think you're going to get a lot of stronger Australian athletes racing there. Yep. So I'm afraid, there isn't really an answer to where's the easy slot to qualify. There are no easy slots. You've got to be a damn good athlete, and you've got to have a lot of luck on the day, and you've got to have a course that suits your racing strength.
I second all of that, Rob, and I would add that, you said you've got to be lucky sometimes with a roll down. Well, this year at Ironman UK, in the 30 to 34 slot, it rolled for females. It rolled all the way down to 26.
That's amazing, isn't it? Because we were wondering, weren't we, whether you'd get your slot. Did you finish fourth and we thought there'd be 3 slots, or
you knew there were 2, but I was fourth.
We knew you were fourth, and we knew, I think, that the winner had already taken a slot, so we were like, it might roll to you, do we go to the roll down or not?
And I was like, no.
And then in the end it rolled miles, didn't it? And I bet honestly, I bet the person in your age group who got that slot just couldn't believe the luck that it rolled so far down.
Yeah.
It's just...
Exactly. And then, Rob, the other thing that I was going to say is even when I went to Mexico and I did that 70.3 race, okay, there were so few Europeans there, but actually, like, triathlon's massive in Mexico. There were loads of really strong Mexicans. A lot of strong people from the US had gone down, Canada, and then others from South America as well, because there aren't quite so many races for them. So actually then you end up with a really, really stacked field, and I was 6th there in that race, but there was only, I think, wasn't there 10 minutes or something crazy?
Yeah.
Splitting the top sort of 8 athletes, which in a women's race is quite rare.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I coach a guy called Andreas who raced at Ironman Sweden this year. And last year he'd gone to Ironman Sweden and gone 10 hours. And he told me when I started coaching him, my dream is to qualify for Kona. And I said, look, we've got to be realistic. You've got to be going under 9:30 to have a chance in I think he was the male 35 category. We've got to get you down under 9:30. And his training went really, really well. And I was saying to him before the race, if you have a really good race here, I think you could go under 9:20. And I was thinking, yeah, that's looking good for a Kona slot. And on the day, he had like the dream race, apart from getting a penalty for, if you can believe this, for dropping a banana skin. He got a stop and go penalty on the bike for discarding a banana skin. He went 9:08. And that only got him 8th place in his age group. And there were only 5 slots. And so we were like, I just can't believe that he's gone so quick and isn't going to get to go. And I actually went on Facebook and hunted down all these guys who were in front of him and messaged them and said, are you going to take your slot? And in the end, we worked out before the ceremony that 3 of them already had the slots, 2 of them weren't going, and he was going to get his slot, so we were made up. But I think it just goes to show the standard of racing is getting higher and higher, especially at a race like Sweden, which is one of the fast courses. Loads of fast guys are going there now to try and get that that tick of the really fast time. And it was definitely a quick day, but I mean 9:08 to not qualify outright is insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
He was like 20th overall or something. You're going, you're not going to get to Kona, maybe finishing 20th overall in a race. Insanity.
That is crazy. Well, Ed, there you go. There are the tips from Rob. Little bit from me.
We could talk about that all day, couldn't we?
We really could. I know.
Yeah,
it's
got
really
your money's
good.
worth there, Ed.
Thank you so much for the question. If you have a question, then please do get in touch. Either on Facebook, you can find us Cup of Tri, or you can find us on Twitter. We are at Cup of Tri, and we genuinely do love hearing from you. So keep the questions coming.
We sure do. All right, let's do some news from around the world, Hells. Let's start with the news from 70.3 Staffordshire. And the news is 2017. I think this is breaking news, actually. 2017 is going to be the last year that 70.3 Staffordshire takes place at the Shugborough Estate.
Yes, it is, because the Shugborough Estate is going to be taken back under the National Trust, and they have, I guess, different ideas as to what they want to do with it, and holding an Ironman event is not one of them. So yeah, Staffordshire 70.3 next year will be the last one. That makes you wonder, Rob, will they bring
I wonder
back
whether they'll still, I think they're still going to have, well, it's saying at the moment they're still going to have 70.3 Staffordshire, but presumably they're going to have to find another venue, aren't they?
Yeah.
Shame that, because Shugborough was a beautiful location, wasn't it? I really liked it when we were there supporting you. Yeah,
and it felt like the run was just brilliant. It was so well supported, so it's a real shame that, because it felt really quite compact.
They did a great job, didn't they, of winding that run backwards and forwards through the gardens and around the estate and stuff. So yeah, if you've not entered yet and there's still entries available and you're in the UK, that's a great race to get yourself in for. It's really well supported. Cool. And another bit of sad news from over in America. I got an email from Ben at the Slice of Tri podcast over there, because me and him were having some banter, and we were going to race each other at a race called Timberman, which is a race that Chrissy'd done. It was a massive 70.3, one of the longest standing ones out there, that's been going since about, I think it's been an Ironman branded one since about 2001. and we were going to race each other there. We were going to have a cup of slice of try face off. And he emailed me a few days ago. He's like, dude, I can't believe it. The race has just been cancelled. And the news in the local paper says that Ironman have decided that they're not going to support that event anymore, and they're going to run with a 70.3 up in Maine instead. So it's a real shame for the sort of the triathlon community in the northeast of North America, because it leaves them the only race they're going to have there now is 70.3 Maine. There's Mont Tremblant still up in Canada, but I don't think there's another 70.3 race in that area now, and it's such a beautiful location and well suited to the racing as well. So remains to be seen whether I think the event they've got in Maine is at Old Orchard Beach, which is like a big, I don't want to say it's like Blackpool, but it's like Blackpool. If you can imagine a sunny Blackpool, it's a very touristy kind of seaside location with roller coasters. So there'll be a lot of tourism around there. But yeah, real shame to not have that. And I always wanted to race that as well. So
you'll have to find another one to go and race.
Mate.
You have to go find another one.
Won't be the same though.
No, it won't be the same. But you know,
the lake I grew up on. You know.
Oh,
bit gutted, mate. Still. Who knows?
There's still Wasdale X.
I'm not that stupid. Although, having said that, I've been on the turbo twice this week.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got the turbo sitting here in the corner of the office now, set up, stretching the legs a little bit.
I want to hear what the plans are, Rob.
Helen, I've got to say, I got on the bike and I started riding and I went, well, clearly the power meter needs calibrating. That reading can't be right. Riding along and looking at heart rate and looking at power and thinking, obviously need to change the batteries in this. Yeah, it was reading correctly. Yeah, so if anyone has seen my missing 70 watts, if you can put them in an envelope and send them to me, I'd very much appreciate it.
Oh, I got on the turbo
Don't laugh,
earlier.
It's not funny.
No, they'll appear somewhere. Some nice person will send them back. I was on the turbo earlier, Rob, and well, I started off like in my coat, obviously, because it was pretty chilly, and I had my fleece on under my coat. In the garage, actually. Now moved house. We haven't moved house, but you know, moved turbo house.
Right, moved the turbo.
Yeah, moved the turbo. I think it's even colder in the garage. And so I had coat, fleece, cycling jersey, woolly hat, and gradually, bit by bit, I think I got to about 20 minutes before I was actually just down to, the sports bra and shorts. But I still had my hands in my hat. Oh man, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
The least sexy striptease in the world.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no, coat's coming off.
Yeah, the coat's coming off.
Yeah,
I
had the woolly hat on. I even had the woolly hat on, and then had to use it to keep my hands warm for a bit.
Did you have that thing like where there was steam coming off your head, and it's really cold and you're really hot and the steam kind of rises off you like it does at the track on a cold night?
I definitely had it the other day. I don't know if I had it today, but I definitely had it the other day. So then you think, oh, I must have worked hard. It's fine. Yeah. Rob, we like giving you a little bit of cake recipe stuff,
Oh, do it. Yeah.
Right. Well, no. Right.
Oh, okay.
Egg news. Right. Everyone loves an egg. Surely, as an athlete, we
definitely
all like eggs, unless you're, can't eat eggs or something. Oh my goodness, I've always had problems trying to poach an egg, and it ended up more like a froached egg, so like almost frying it in water. Anyway, the magician that is Jamie Oliver, here's a little tip for you. Get cling film, right? Put a little bit of olive oil on your cling film. Put the cling film over a mug, like the rim of the mug, okay? But almost like you need a little, like a little pool.
This is great radio.
Yeah, this is brilliant. Crack the egg onto the cling film and then pull up all the corners and wrap it up and tie it up. So basically, your egg is in cling film, right?
Yeah, with you.
Then all you do is put this little cling film parcel in the saucepan of boiling water, poach an egg as normal. It comes, and then once you've poached it for as long as you want in the water, pull out your little cling film parcel, snip off the top, and then it just slides out like a magically poached egg.
Helen, I'm sorry to tell you this. I've got very limited cooking knowledge, but even I own a little latex egg poacher.
Yeah, you don't need it.
It sounds a bit easier than your cling film mess. I've got to be honest. If it was me doing that, right, what would happen is I would forget to oil the cling film. The egg would stick to the cling film, and I'd end up eating the cling film. That's what would happen if I did it. So I'm going to be sticking with my little latex egg poacher. Thank you very much. Oh my God,
no, that's fine. Well, it's an alternative. I've only just discovered it, and I was absolutely amazed that I've finally poached an egg without making an absolute mess in the pan.
Oh, do you know, we have to wrap this episode up, Helen. People are going to be doing. It's going to be a too long run type episode, this one, isn't it? But you know what? It's our 100th episode, so we can do what the hell we like. So it's all good. Oh, do you know what, everyone who's listening? Thank you very much for sticking with us, and thank you for listening. And you've made two lunatics very happy by being our audience. We hope we've managed to inspire you a little bit over the years, and we will do our best to keep on doing that as the years roll by, won't we, Hells?
We definitely will.
All right. So watch this space for more triathlon news in the coming weeks. Until next week, everybody, have yourselves a safe training and racing week and get some grinding done on that turbo for sure. I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
And you've been listening to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. Until next week, see ya.